to Eskimo Brothers Reviews. This is episode 15. Today we watched the film Django Unchained.
I thought it was the Django.
The D is silent.
Oh.
So today we watched Django Unchained. This was my third time viewing it. This was Shadow Man's first time. So I'll go ahead and start with the summary if you guys haven't seen it. So it starts off 1858 in Texas. Starts with Django, who is played by Jamie Foxx. He is a slave, and he eventually gets freed by a bounty hunter, Dr. King Schultz. And pretty much the bounty hunter needs him to find some bounties. And after he frees him, they kind of, they like each other and they kind of get along and they're a good team. So they team up to go and get more bounties, get some money, make a living, and they also find Dr. King Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz, who's amazing in this film. It was very great.
Yeah.
He finds out that Django has a wife, and his wife speaks German, and Dr. Schultz is originally from Germany. So he kind of feels like, I think we should find this woman. And he has like a soft spot for Django, and he feels responsible, since he did help free him. He feels responsible that he needs to, take care of him, and, they'll, team up and go along with each other. And
Yeah, he does not like slavery. He only gets Django because he needs the help on the bounty.
Yeah.
Django knows what these guys look like that
Right.
he's looking for.
Yeah, so that starts the whole little adventure, and so they go place to place, and eventually their final destination is they're looking, they think they found where Django's wife is, and so they go there and try to free her. So that's pretty much the main summary of the film. I won't get too much detail for a few more minutes, so spoiler alert, it is coming up. But yeah, that's pretty much that. What did you think of it for your first time?
I going in, I didn't know what to expect, other than I knew it was Quentin Tarantino movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a certain level of expectation there.
Right.
Jamie Foxx is someone who I would say I'm neutral on his acting. Like, I don't hate it, I don't love it, so that I wasn't like, oh good, I get to see him, and I wasn't, oh this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Leonardo Dicaprio does not excite me, but he was very good in this movie.
Yeah.
He comes in late into the picture, but well done.
Yes.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. In terms of.
It's long though, warning.
Yeah, it is. It
That's
is
what
long.
She said.
Yeah, it's about over 2.5 hours, 2:45 if you watch all the credits. I'm not a major Quentin Tarantino fan, but I do like him because he does stuff a little differently. Like, there's the same stuff that you'd see in a lot of major films, but there are some things that he does his own certain way, and I like I respect that he's different from the other ones. So it's not the same old film, same stuff you see in Hollywood, just time and time again. So.
And for a Western, he definitely knows Westerns. You could tell.
Yeah.
From the shots, the way the shots are, and when there's a large group of people, he makes sure he picks like people who don't look similar. Everyone's pretty well identifiable, like the old, like Italian Westerns from the 60s.
Yeah. So this is a mix of a Western and like a drama and a romance and an action and some comedy with some, well, pretty much, revenge as well. Because Django is, upset that he's been enslaved all this time, and he's finally free and can finally be like, oh, well, I'm a free man, I can do what I want to do now, and I can get my revenge on all the people that have wronged me in the past. And I have the skill, and I have the freedom, and I have the ways, so why not? So yeah, in terms of if you're looking for something diverse and strange, this is a good choice. There's all different types. It's not for kids though. I will say that definitely. It's rated R. I would definitely keep your kids, in a different room. It's plenty of offensive language. That's very gory. It's very violent. So that's why I really enjoy it.
That's
yeah.
funny. I thought the action was good. I really enjoyed it for the dialogue, particularly like that first scene with Leonardo DiCaprio. That first room they're in. Like Jamie Foxx's dialogue, he was just kind of the badass sitting at the bar, which is what I love about a lot of old westerns. So that's why I say he understands a western pretty well.
Yeah, and it is a western, I'd say, primarily, and the scenery is like a lot of westerns. It's beautiful. You'll have like the red rocks and sand, and then you'll have beautiful mountains and like green pastures and all kinds of stuff. So it's I'm not quite sure where it was filmed. I know some scenes there was a green screen. You could kind of tell some things were just slightly off. Like there was like these beautiful like red plains and then some mountains, and like the aspect doesn't really add up. So you could tell that was fake, but a lot of the other like scenes were amazing.
You also get a lot of the Quentin Tarantino tropes, if you will, of
yes.
shock for the sake of shock.
Yeah.
That's completely unnecessary. Like the very beginning, you see a horse get shot, and it is bloody. Like,
yes.
Oh my god. Like that sort of thing. Like kind of kicked me in the ass to go, oh yeah, this is Quentin Tarantino. In case you didn't know.
Exactly, yeah. If you didn't know who was directing it, you could definitely tell within the first probably 10 or 15 minutes. So yeah, overall I really liked it too. The third time through, I'm still finding new things that I haven't noticed before, so that's really good. It's real complex and different. He mentioned the dialogue. I was a big fan of that as well. There are some times, like in the beginning and in the end, there's pretty action-packed, but certain times in the middle, there can be long scenes where it might seem boring, but if you actually just pay attention, there's really great acting, and not even like speaking, like audible acting.
Yeah.
It's all visual. Like you see all the body language, and you're like, oh wow, Samuel L. Jackson is pretty good. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is really good.
Yeah, you see a lot of acting with the eyes.
Yeah, you can tell plenty of emotion without anyone even saying a word. So that was perfect. I'd say that was really good.
Which is good on Quentin Tarantino for getting that out of the actors.
Yeah. And he mentioned Jamie Foxx earlier. I'm the same way. Like, I don't really care for him either way. I'm pretty much indifferent. But the couple movies I have seen him in, he's been good.
He's been real badass in this one.
Yeah. There was. Yeah, so Django, he kind of reminds me of like a superhero type character, because he kind of comes from nothing. He comes from being enslaved, and then he's free, and so he somehow becomes an amazing shot with the weapons there. Again, I think it was 1858 was when it started, but it goes through like 1858 to like 1860 or so. So he becomes a really great shot. He becomes super confident, and then like Shadow Man said, he does become like a badass. You can tell he's got kind of an attitude. He's got like a chip on his shoulder, and that's something that a lot of white folk in the film don't really care for, because they're like, oh, who's this this black guy who comes to me and has this this kind of aura, this feeling. And like, we don't like that. We like, that could have power, but all of a sudden they're not in power, and it's pretty cool. I like the outcome.
I like how he's sometimes eccentric. So he's a slave at the very beginning, and Dr. Schultz buys him, but It's really more of a
Yeah,
partnership.
buys them.
So when he
free.
takes him to the shop and says, "Pick out your clothes," he's like amazed. I get to pick my own clothes.
Yeah, he's never been able to do that.
And
before.
apparently he wants to look like Austin Powers.
He did look
Because
like
that's
Austin Powers.
what he dresses up like.
Yeah, it was a.
For a portion of the movie.
Yeah, it
Not
was
the
a.
whole thing.
It was nice. It was very flashy. It was like beautiful. Like, hey, look at me.
Like royal blue.
Yeah, it was really nice. I like that. Yeah. So besides the attire, the like the visual aspect of the other characters, there's strangely looking people. There are like super short people. There's tall people. You have once they get to their final destination in Mississippi, it's called Candyland. It is owned by Calvin Candy, who is Leonardo DiCaprio's character. You have a lot of, I'd say, what other people would consider Southern folks. Like long, like unkempt beards, and the English isn't the best.
A character named Big Daddy.
A character named Big Daddy. Yeah. You have different types of just strange looking people, and it was actually really cool just to see like just the different types of people that somehow Quentin Tarantino found on this earth, and he put in a film. It was really nice and really different. The lighting was really nice. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that more than the scenery, I think, because there was a lot of times where there was nighttime shots, and those shots used like strange like spotlights where it would be unnatural. It wasn't like a natural scene, but it definitely helped bring out the characters and what was going on in the film. So yeah, the lighting, they used like spotlights, kind of like to replicate moonlight, but it was like kind of too bright moonlight. Yeah. but I guess it still worked.
Yeah, there was a part at the end where it looked like daytime from one angle and then nighttime from another.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of true. But besides that, yeah, I like that spotlights. They used a lot of silhouettes. There was a couple times when Django and Dr. Schultz kind of rode off into the sunset, so it's just like the silhouettes. You could see the cowboy hats and everything, and then
the classic shot.
Yeah, the classic Western shot, and they used plenty of shadows as well, and that was nice. So just to see like the light dark, I guess that could maybe kind of classify as like what he was trying to do with like good, bad, light, dark. I wouldn't think too much into that.
What do you think he was trying to do with that music?
I'm not quite sure. In the beginning, we start off with music that is kind of like a classic Western, like introduction, like it's a song about Django, pretty much. It was a good song. I liked it. It fit well. But then you also switch to, there's some Rick Ross, there's some Jim Croce, there's some like I'd say like adult alternative music, kind of like soft rock. There was
and then there's
all
like
over the place.
Yeah, and then there's like the classical Western kind of like a lot of horns.
Yeah, horns and
kind of stuff.
Whistles.
It's all over the place with music.
Yeah. Which I mean, I like it and I don't. I mean, it's kind of its own thing.
I don't need Rick Ross in a Western.
That's true. Rick Ross in a Western was a little interesting, but hey.
The biggest affront, musically.
Yes.
The movie's called Django Unchained. I got all excited. I put on my Van Halen t-shirt because they have a song called Unchained, so I know I'm going to hear that song.
Unfortunately.
No Van Halen.
Actually, fortunately, there was no Van Halen, so that's why I gave this movie 5 stars. No Van Halen.
Just no Van Halen.
Yeah.
That's the only requirement.
It could be the best movie of all time. There was like a 10-second clip of Van Halen, and I'm turning it off. Just a couple other things that I wanted to bring up was the audio in the background, and I guess the audio in general. So both, it's visually pleasing, And audibly, plenty of times you'll see Dr. Schultz like play with his mustache and beard, and there's a very distinct sound of like the hairs against his hands. There's scenes where there's a scene where they're off like all winter long, Django and Dr. Schultz, and they're in the mountains, kind of like training to do more bounty hunting in the spring. And then so the next scene is in spring, and it's sunny. There's a lot of birds chirping. And so it kind of gives you that feeling of, okay, so yeah, this is spring, that we're restarting this now. And so that was good. That was a nice little thing they put in there to kind of help the viewer recognize, like, all right, it's officially now spring, we're doing this now. There's plenty of other, like, just the sounds of the horses, the sounds of people in the background. I mean, unfortunately, it's on plantation, so you do hear occasional whips and screams and stuff like that, but yeah, audibly it was really good too. I'd say the last thing that I wanted to bring up was he talked about the dialogue with the first scene with Monsieur Candy and Dr. King Schultz and Django, and the first scene where they go to Candyland, and you could tell there's a very distinct like power play between Leonardo DiCaprio's Mr. Candy and both Django and Dr. Schultz. Like they're trying to like figure each other out, and they're all uncertain, and they're kind of skeptical at first, and that's where we talk about the visual acting. Like you can see just based on their facial features and just their facial cues that they do, like okay, so they're not exactly best friends here.
Right.
But yeah,
all the while being very nice and
yes.
Get this man a drink.
Yes, exactly. Oh, here, you look thirsty, and here's this and here's that, and it's I guess from what I hear, that's kind of how wealthy people are in general. They're just like, oh, here, they're trying to be gracious hosts and everything, while at the same time, just back talking the guests or whatever. But yeah, you could tell. And later on, while they're at Candyland, you can see like the growth of both Monsieur Candy and Dr. Schultz. Just the way they go like back and forth. Two great actors. I'd say two of the greatest of this era for sure. Just see them going back and forth, and their little quips, and just how they interact with each other. I thought was really fun to watch. That was my last thing. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I got two little things here. One of the things I mentioned while we're watching it is it's a gory movie. There's a lot of blood. When someone gets shot, it's like 2 gallons of blood gets splattered on the wall.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, oh man, this thing's so bloody, it's like a zombie movie. And at the end credits, I see the name Tom Savini, who's famous for doing Friday the 13th, the original, and Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. And the one last thing I had here was a bit of a nitpick. At the scene right after the doctor gets Django,
yeah,
when they go to that bar, or saloon.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
He's running out to get the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
So the sheriff comes completely alone. No one else comes with the sheriff. He knows he's going to confront 2 guys, and he just goes alone.
Maybe that was a thing back in the 1850s. Just put your life in danger. You know you're outnumbered.
That might have been the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, that was, to me, that was a really good scene, because you'll see how Django is kind of warming up to him, but also at the same time, like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing?
He's never seen anything like this.
Yeah, like, this guy is wild. Like, why am I around him? But
and you really identify with Django, and that, because At least the first time you
Yeah.
see it, you're like, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
Yeah, you're unsure of what is going on. So, so yeah, same thing there. It's like, oh, I don't understand. I guess there was, in that scene, I did notice a continuity error where Dr. Schultz pours them both beers. And then they talk, and at one point Dr. Schultz is halfway done with his beer, and the next scene, or the next time they go back to him, there's just an inch gone. so yeah, that's a very common thing in films. So I'm not gonna take points off for that, but it was definitely noticeable, at least by me. But yeah, I'd say, that small thing was one thing that I didn't like, and there are times where this can be, it's like an inspirational movie, but it's also, in Tarantino fashion, kind of just out there and too ridiculous. It's like wild. Like strange things happen that are just unnecessary and they don't need to be put in there, but it's his own flair, so I can get it. But
I've probably only seen about 4 of his movies now, and this is probably my favorite, I'd say.
Yeah, I really liked it too. But
yeah, what's next?
So, since Shadow Man has only seen 4 Tarantino films, we might as well make it 5 with The Hateful Eight, which is the 8th film of Quentin Tarantino.
Oh.
And it kind of slightly ties into Django Unchained.
Oh.
Not really in the storyline,
Oh.
but it's around the same time period, similar scenery. Of course, Tarantino, a lot of the same actors are going to be in there. So, so that one's going to be next, and Shadow Man's going to love it. And then we're just going to keep going with Tarantino films, isn't that right?
Probably not.
All right, that's right. You heard it. All right, thanks for stopping in, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.